Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Single Dads Network Unplugged, Season 2. And today we are going to be going right deep into the brains of the man behind this network, and I'm excited to talk to him. We've had so many amazing conversations off camera, and I hope that we can keep that conversation happening today, on camera. And so we've had Season 1 run through already, and we are officially in Season 2 of this podcast. And so I want to find out, in your experience, how has Season 1 been like for you? Is it what you expected? Did it live up to the expectations you have in your mind, so to say?
Tough question. Thanks, Nicky. It's been a roller coaster. I think launching a network like this is daunting. And I remember talking to you a couple of months ago, if not years ago.
No, months ago.
Months ago about I want to do this. I had no idea where to start and how to start. But yes, Season 1 happened. It was what I expected and more.
Okay.
And we learned a lot. We made mistakes. But here we are now, Season 2. And we're looking forward to creating more bigger stories and impacting more lives.
Absolutely. I remember when you shared this with me the first time, I was like, wow. I have this interest or love for things that concern men. And it was quite an interesting thing to see that there was someone who has, it wasn't particularly about single dads. It was just men in general. Because I normally feel like men issues are just swept under the carpet and no one is really paying that much attention to it.
No one's willing to talk about it.
So yes, it caught my attention immediately when you shared this. And I remember we were in Rosebank.
Yes, we were, yeah.
When you shared the idea to start a single dads network, I was like, wow, this is really amazing. Men and single dads themselves, they need a platform where they can share their ideas, their thoughts, because there are so many organizations, NGOs,
supporting
for profit,
women,
not for profit, that are all geared towards supporting women and single moms and all of that. I was like, why can't there be something like that for single dads? So I was very, very encouraged just from hearing the idea in itself, and I'm so blessed to see the idea take off. I mean, it's officially birthed. It's taking off a different life of its own.
Sure.
And it's amazing to see that you have that idea, to bring that as a solution, to some of the societal ills that we have. And so if I may ask, what really inspired you to do that?
Oh, Nicky, what inspired me is being an absent father in my earlier days of fatherhood. And I realized that I did not have a relationship with my kids. And it bothered me that I had accepted that as a norm.
Right.
And I had to challenge myself. I had to challenge my kids. I had to ask tough questions about where my priorities lied. And I remember coming back from overseas, I intentionally made it my project to get closer to my kids. It's still a journey. I don't think there's going to be a destination. There's a lot of work to be done. But when I look back, Nicky, 15, 20 years ago, in terms of my relationship with my kids and where we are now is very different. We continue to grow. We're becoming closer. We're becoming friends. We can talk about anything. We can talk about work. We can talk about relationships. That for me is bringing this idea closer that actually it's possible to build relationships with our kids as dads.
Absolutely.
And then I began to ask the question, how can I form a community from which we can drink and create a fountain where some of the dads can actually find solitude and create a network where we can learn from one another. And of course, and also learn from single moms and learn from any parents that are willing to contribute to the network. So that really inspired me. And looking in my own family and in my own friendship circles, and I realized actually there might be more people that were in my position many years ago.
Right.
And I started the network to help them as well.
Right. Beside your own story and beside your own, experiences, were there things in society or in your community or in your workplace that made you realize the necessity for a platform like this beside your own experiences?
Plenty.
Yeah.
Because when I look around, many fathers believe that as long as I pour money and gifts to my kids, and that's parenting, as long as I send them to the best schools, I support them with their education, I provide roof over their heads and clothes on their back, and that's parenting. And I don't think that's the case. That should be the case.
Right.
And again, assistance and support defaults to single moms because most of them have got custody of the kids, and that bothered me as well.
Right.
Why are dads making it normal to just be absent and distant, and just think that providing financial resources is enough?
Right.
And I began to challenge myself and then challenge my friends as well.
That's great. Are there people in your life that feels you are crazy for doing this?
Yes, many. Even in my own family. That's okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think that
Yeah.
I'm just crazy. I'm just thinking of something that's impossible to achieve because that's societal ills and customs and traditions that are hard to unwind.
Right.
And I don't think that was my initial mission. I think my mission is just to help dads, single dads particularly, build stronger, effective relationships with their kids. And I think that's possible.
Personally, I don't think that people would have thought you're crazy if you started a single moms network. I think you would have had so much applauses and years, for years, this is what women
That's
need.
needed.
Women empowerment and stuff like that. That's how I feel. I don't think anyone would have really felt like that.
Okay.
But because it's issues around men, again, we come into that place of what? What is that you're doing, Yeah. But that's how society has been conditioned to think, to dismiss things that concern men, which I'm glad that you're standing up and doing something about it.
Thank you.
Instead of joining the crew and
saying,
on
the sidelines.
Exactly, sitting on the sidelines and anyway, men have always been dismissed and downplayed, so it's okay. I don't have to do that.
Yes.
But if you started a single moms network, there will be so much support that it could even be overwhelming. Wow. Especially as a man, they'll be like, yes, this is the type of men we want in society.
He's on our side. They are not.
But sadly, so I'm just so glad that you are taking the road less traveled and you are shining a light to issues that society doesn't seem to pay attention to because there's so much talk on single moms, but single moms don't make kids by themselves.
Of course.
There
must be a father somewhere.
There must be a dad somewhere.
Yeah.
And beside that, there are men who lost their wives or lost their girlfriend, and the child is entirely their responsibility. Where do they find support, in things like that? So that is where this network becomes even more critical for men like that, Some men that, I don't know, whatever happened with the relationship, the kids ended up with them, but the mother may still be alive, but the child is fully in the custody of the man. Where does he find support? So having a network like this, I believe, it is what men have been looking for, so to say, but they didn't know where to find it
and how to create it,
ask, or even how to create it. So I believe that this is what is needed, and it's going to go really far. So speaking of far, what is the big vision, with the network?
I've got a big vision. I just want to create a community where we normalize the fact that parenting is equally the responsibility of both parents, so that we don't question. And again, I spoke to someone earlier today about even the courts in the event of separation, divorce, they tend to default to shifting custody to the mother. And again, I even said to the person I was speaking to, because the judges also come from communities with stereotypes. So we want to almost demystify that stigma that says men or fathers do not have inherent ability to raise kids, because that's not true. You had in the earlier episodes in this season when we have dads that are successfully parenting kids on their own, and they're doing it just okay, and they're doing fine. So it's just destroying those stereotypes that say that only female parents are able to raise kids. So my big dream is to make it okay for baby mamas or single parents just to say that you can have kids over the long weekend as a single dad, and that's okay. And what support do you need from me, and not be restless and anxious about it. But I'm not going to do it on my own. Obviously, I need a community. I need support people like yourselves. But I think ultimately, if we can touch one dad and change their mindset, and that dad touches another, and that dad touches another, we will have achieved something great. And through our social channels, I'm hoping that we can reach many dads that are in a dark corner and almost helpless, and not knowing where to turn.
Right, and there are many of those, what do you say to people who may look at this and say, you are promoting the segregation of families, you are promoting single parenting, you're promoting, or you are against marriage in general. You know, there are those, when something is birthed like this platform, you don't know how people interpret it. So what would be your message to people who are thinking of it like that, oh, you're just promoting the segregation of marriage, or you're promoting families to be apart and don't see separations and you're against marriage?
And someone said to me, this what you're doing is opposite of feminism. And I said, that's okay. That's the way you see it. But I think we're trying to achieve exactly the opposite. I even said to that same person, we are not bashing baby mamas, or we are not bashing the other parents. Even if what we're doing gets them closer to the person they separated with, that's even better. However, we want them to get closer to the other party in terms of parenting.
Absolutely.
Personal relationships, I'm not a parenting psychologist myself. I'm just a father. And I'm saying, if through this network we can get even mothers getting closer to the fathers in the interest of the child, co-parenting successfully in the interest of if they decide to get back together, it's even better. If they decide to get married, it's even better, because kids grow better, develop better in a setting where there's a mother and a father figure together in the same household. But that's not the entire goal. The entire goal, the intentional goal, is to get them to learn to parent better, especially when they don't live together with the kids. But yes, as I say, if they can get back and even get married, that's even good for the child.
So there are those extreme thoughts and misinterpretation of what you're trying to achieve that people will say, of course, it is what it is. Feminism has created its own special problems for society. And a lot of single mom and single men exist because of feminism.
Exactly.
So should we then fold our hands and sit back and not try to say, okay, these are some of the ills that we have in society. How do we solve them? Instead of sitting back and saying, okay, I don't want anyone to accuse me of being against marriage, so I'm not going to do this. Because the reality is that these problems exist. There are men, there are dads that are so lost out there, and they have no clue who to talk to, where to go to. Just them finding a platform like this is like, whew. They take that breath of fresh air. Okay, I didn't know anyone cared enough to create something like this for that. So I think that it's very much important. Anyone who will misinterpret it as you being against women, it's okay. Absolutely. Because there are women out there that feel that the moment you start an empowerment towards men, you are disempowering women for some reason, or you are against women for
You're actually empowering them.
Absolutely.
I keep saying to the people that I talk to through this network, I'm saying, if through a child you can also get closer to the other parent, that is a great story. Sometimes going through the parent first and then the child doesn't work. But I'm saying, as a father, if you can form a bond, a better relationship with the child, and ultimately get to the mother, not to get to the mother for them to come back, get to the mother to help you parent better. That's the ultimate goal. But usually we go through the parent, and then we think that if the parent can give me access to the child, then we can co-parent. But I'm saying you can go straight to the child, especially when the child is old enough to make their own decisions. Do I want to talk to my dad? I want him to pick me up once in a while. I want to go play with him this weekend. I'm saying do that. I don't think that will distance the other parent. And I think traditionally we've been saying, I need permission first through the mother before I can form a relationship directly with him or her. And I'm saying, find a way to reach the child directly.
Absolutely. And the name of the network itself is Single Dads, not Single Men's Network, which is entirely, would entirely have something else. So Single Dads Network has a connotation that the child is the central point of this network. We're trying to build a healthy...
It's about the child.
It's about the child.
Yeah.
A man that raises a healthy... sometimes your greatest contribution to society might not necessarily be what you did or your accomplishment at work, but who you raised. Yeah. Because that's the legacy you want to leave. When I look at my kids, I ask myself, if I drop dead today, what legacy would I have left behind now? And every time I try to nurture our relationships, develop our relationships, I ask myself, if I had to step aside now and relinquish my responsibility as a dad, and what legacy would I have? I always say it's not what you leave for your kids, it's what you leave in them. Absolutely.
And if you can leave some stuff in them that's going to make them better people in society, you will have achieved something. And I'm thinking through this network, I'm hoping through this network we can have an idea that as parents and as dads, we've got a role to play to leave something in our kids that's going to make them better citizens.
Absolutely. I watched the episode with your beautiful daughter. Oh my God, it was a great session. She's sitting right here.
Thank you.
I totally enjoyed the session and the conversation and the vulnerability that you guys portray, which is the essence of this. People need to express exactly how they feel.
And it's part of healing.
Impacted. It's part of healing.
And it's part of releasing trauma.
Absolutely. So I really, really love that you did that, with your daughter. What is in terms of just having these conversations and having, people come share their story, what other activities do you intend to bring in as part of, making the network more accessible, so to say,
and more fun. I get asked, and again, that's why we didn't call this Single Dads social network.
Right.
It's got a social flavor in it.
Right.
I always say it's a 7-30 principle.
Right.
30% being social,
Right.
70% inspirational and educational.
Absolutely.
So I've seen many other Single Dads network in the world, but they focus more on just networking and doing social activities. Of course, my dream is to get the Single Dads do more activities together with their kids. So we will be arranging getaways with Single Dads and kids together, picnics, road trips, boat rides, conferences, where we focus not on talks like this, but we focus on playing together, bonding together, doing activities together, understanding one another, getting to know each other. That's the 30% that I'm excited about. In fact, and from next year, January, we're going to curate a program, a calendar for Single Dads 2024, and that's going to include all of those events. So one big event once a year, which is a men's conference, Single Dads conference. And of course, in between, then we've got social excursions. Those are very intentional, though. The activities that we're going to curate are going to be intentional to the point where we want to almost measure how the bondage or the bonding or the relationship has improved after those events. Because ultimately, we want the relationships to get better.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be very intentional about the diversity of those programs. And also, we're going to have workshops with kids alone, workshops with men alone. We are bringing practitioners, clinical psychologists, child psychologists, life coaches to run workshops with kids alone and men alone to help them become better versions of themselves. As career guidance, yes. So that is also on the calendar for 2024.
This is amazing. Clearly, everything has been thought out, and this is bigger than just podcasts. It's bigger than just a network to come together and have these conversations and share stories. So the vision is quite big. How do you intend to, because a vision like this requires resources.
Of course.
Yeah. So what is what is the plan in how to have the resources that is going to push this forward?
Yeah, we continue. Thanks, Nick. That's a big question, because through our website, we continue to look for partners that are going to stand behind this movement, donors or donations from individuals, companies, NPOs, to fall behind this initiative, so that we can actually, in fact, even in our website, we've got a page around volunteering.
Right.
Because we want some of the dads to spend time at orphanages, at schools, at poor communities. We want to adopt a child. That's some of the dads network. We can adopt a child from the school, send them to university. Once we've got financial resources, and then we can achieve all of those things. My dream is to create a vehicle that not only do we create a sense of community, but we reach out to those communities that are less fortunate than we are, whether it's schools, ordinary communities, churches, because it's not just about branding the Summit Dads Network, it's also about taking our own individual resources and knowledge and skills and sharing them with society. But the main thing, we want our kids to be part of those things. If we are going to a community to paint a school, to run a program at the school as dads, we want our kids to be part of it. And we spoke earlier about planting a seed in a child. If by doing that with the child present, we are hoping that we can encourage them to do more with their time. Because giving time is just the best thing that you could do for anyone. It's not about financial resources. So my dream is to create a vehicle and a movement where kids are excited to do community work with us as dads. And we want to make it normal. When we say we are working in this area this weekend, we invite our kids. And there's a sense of community. And we want them to get involved in those things. So if we can find people that can believe in what we're doing and be our partners moving forward, I think this thing is going to scale. And suddenly we create a vibration that is going to be hard to stop. And I even said to you the other day, this was my dream for many years. If someone comes up to me and say, I've got a better idea to make it, to take it to a different level, I'm not married to it. As long as my vision comes to fruition and it can get bigger or broader or deeper, and I'll be excited. So through our platform, we allow people to share ideas to make it reach more single dads, and we are welcoming that. And of course, partners would be welcome.
Right, that's awesome. South Africa is known as a fatherless nation.
I've heard that.
Yes, and it's true. So my question to that is, are kids that don't have a father, don't even know who their father is, do they have access to this platform? If so, how? Are they, with the men within this platform, are they educated or empowered to focus on their immediate family? Or is that idea of mentor a child out there, become a father to anyone, is that something that is going to be prevalent within the network?
Obviously, charity begins at home. Fix your own house first before you can't pour from an empty cup. I was asked to come and speak at the Kids Haven in Benoni. I spoke to about 25 to 30 young boys about my story and about fatherhood. And I did say that I'd like my house to be fixed first. It's never going to be perfect, but I want to be comfortable to say I've got so much bondage and go through relationship with my kids that now I can go and impact other kids. We want them to be able to visit us during Christmas at Kids Haven. As it comes to December now, no father or parent is fetching those kids from the shelter. All they know is the people that are inside the shelter as parents. How would it be if 5 or 10 dads from this network go out to Kids Haven every year to grab one child to spend Christmas with them? Not gifts, not clothes, not fancy things, just have a sense of family during that time. That's my dream. So, but I'm imploring everyone that is part of this network, fix your house first, get it moving. And then once it moves as an old machine, you can look where else you can go to touch lives. It's going to be difficult when you're healing and you're broken and you're vulnerable as a dad. How are you gonna go out there and find someone to assist? And it's a journey, and it's never, don't wait for it to be perfect. Once you're in a situation where you feel there's a good relationship, working relationship with your kids, now you can say, Mapa, Sthembiso, so-and-so, my kids, let's go and spend time at the school. This December, let's grab one child to spend time with us at home. That to me is going to create a movement. And now the cycle is just the vibration It's just going to, I always say, start with your immediate sphere of influence. It's better to influence your kids first before you influence other families. And that might take time for some, it might take quicker for some. But that's my dream.
Wow. That's great. When you look at the impact of fatherlessness among boys and among girls, or let's just say the impact of bad parenting, right? You see that girls, yes, they are impacted by lack of a father or lack of a parent in a way. And in most cases, the worst case scenario, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but in most cases, the worst case scenario for a girl is that she ends up pregnant, teenage pregnancy, and stuff like that, or runs off with some bad boy. Those are like the worst case scenarios for girls.
Yeah.
But with boys, we are dealing with something entirely different. The lack of a father, or the lack of parenting for a boy child has far-reaching consequences where they turn into criminal activities, they become heartless criminals. The prisons are filled up with men, young boys. If you go to the CBD, early hours of the morning, the street kids are all boys, teenagers in their young ages, right? There is not a single girl among them.
Yes.
That says something.
Yeah.
So my question to that is, will there be plans within this network or programs within this network that are tailored specifically towards young boys?
Absolutely. I think we were talking about career programs and those workshops that I was talking about that we're launching next year. Next year, my vision is to get to places like shelters like Kids Haven, and parents that are in this network to bring their kids into a workshop where we coach them about life. Right. You don't have to bring like crazy specialists about career plans. We just want to teach them about lives. I always make an example about looting that happened in KZN in 2022, if not 2021. Those young people that were looting shops did not come from an island.
No.
They live with someone. They did not come from some car. They were not dropped by a bus coming from some planet. They come from families. And by the way, when they were pushing those trolleys full of groceries and television sets, microwave ovens, they didn't go into a bush. They went into a family. So what does that say about that family? During my time, if I came home home with a pair of shoes or a belt or a cap that my father didn't buy for me, it's an issue. Take it back.
My son is sitting right there, he knows.
Take it back. So charity begins in the home. Broken families have resulted to the society we see today.
Right.
When families have got structure, they've got rules, traditions that work. That looting, a large percentage of the people that were looting were young people, and mainly boys. What's that telling me? If you come from a family with a structure and a father and a mother, and you come pushing a trolley with a double door fridge, and I know that you don't work, and I know I've seen on television there's looting happening, and I accept it, I even use it, I even consume those groceries. I can't be a parent that is proud. So structures at home, or the lack thereof, results to what you see in society.
That's so profound what you're saying. And what the message is sent to the child is that this is okay. Next time you won't be looting. They will find a way to maybe break into the actual store to steal something, because the last time they brought it home, mom and dad were okay with it, or mom was okay with it, or dad was okay with it.
Because they live
when
with
I
relatives.
go through his school things, my son, and I see a pen that I didn't buy, he has to explain where he got it from.
It's a big issue. In my time, it was a big issue if I brought anything in my house that my parents knew nothing about.
Of course.
Because they'll say, whether you borrowed it, whether you stole
Take it back.
Take it back. And by the way, I would get a hiding.
Of course.
As well. It was not a conversation. It's not a conversation.
Right.
So I always say, sometimes kids that are raised by single parents, that structure is very important. The result to believing that what I do out there, I've got no accountability back home. I've got no one to answer to. And the decay of societal norms, that's how it begins.
Absolutely. Wow, Stay. I could talk to you forever. This has been very, very insightful. And so we'll keep it here, keep it brief, and hopefully we get to have this conversation again, in season 3. Season 3 of the Single Dads Network. This is an amazing platform that you
Thank you. I want to thank you,
Nicky.
Nikki, for being part of this, for this forum, for this network, and also following it and giving us ideas as a professional yourself, as a mother. And there's so much we're learning from you, and we want to hear more about your stories as well. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sissy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.